If I could have your attention here in the media center, we are now joined by Dale Earnhardt Jr., driver of the number 88 Exalta Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. And before we get into today's press conference, we have Bristol Motor Speedway Executive Vice President and General Manager Jerry Caldwell, who has a few items.
Hey, how are you?
Dale, thanks for joining us today. You've meant so much to this place here at Bristol, and we love you. The fans love you here. The Earnhardt name has such a legacy at this place, and we know how you are. You don't want anything. You don't want any big presents. I didn't get you a pony or anything like Eddie did, but we did want to do something to honor you and say thanks for everything you guys have done and you've meant to our racetrack. So we felt it appropriate. If you look Dale's Twitter feed up, his description of himself is retired automotive mechanic, I believe. So we felt like it was appropriate for us to be able to honor him, but also help out a bright young student that has an interest in the automotive industry and give them a scholarship. So we've created the Dale Jr. Scholarship for a Sullivan County, Tennessee student that wants to go in the automotive industry. And we'll be awarding that annually in a way to honor you and help a student, get a leg up. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's awesome. Man, that's awesome. I appreciate the track and especially what that will do for some individual and doing it annually. That's gonna be pretty neat. Hopefully you guys get that opportunity to take advantage of it, guys and girls. So I appreciate that. The track's been, honestly, when I was a little kid, the night race here was my favorite race in the season. We didn't get to go to all the races. Typically, we went a lot in the summer. We begged to go to all the races, but Bristol was my favorite, and for a lot of different reasons. But as a 12 to 15-year-old kid, this place was just the ultimate playground, and we enjoyed coming here. And the racing's always been incredible. It is so special and unique. Different than anything else we do, and just something that I'm super proud of for the sport. And it's been an incredible racetrack and has done so much for NASCAR over the years to promote the sport and give folks a great place to come enjoy a race. Everything that happens around the racetrack, outside the racetrack, the atmosphere before, during the race weekends is really great. You guys do an awesome job. Hope to keep coming back. It's definitely still my favorite stop, and I'll be lucky, I guess, is a way to put it, to be able to call this race next year and be a part of the broadcast team when we come back. So that's great that we'll be back. And again, thanks for that. That's exactly the kind of thing that gets me excited, and I appreciate you guys doing that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And it does not hurt our feelings when you tell everybody this is your favorite track. But we look forward to seeing you in the booth next year. It's going to be awesome. I have one other gentleman that wants to come up and present you with something. He doesn't need an introduction. Our good friend to everyone in the room, Mr. Sam Bass.
I've got a present for you. It's been my honor to have done the program covers here at Bristol for a long time. This one was kind of special. I was so excited to get the opportunity to paint your Exalta car on the program cover, and then I got it about 95% done, and you made the announcement about the Ducks Unlimited car going on the cover. So I went back and changed it because I wanted to be historically correct. And if you look up in the night sky there, you might see something you recognize. And but I want you to have the original. It's called Leave a Mark, and I've got you in the pavement down there, your portrait, and then I thought it would be nice to have your dad's car and the Earnhardt legacy celebrated in the night sky. So I'd be proud for you to own this too. Okay? Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Yeah. It's the real thing.
I appreciate that, Sam. Sam's been great for the sport, but a great friend to myself and my father and our whole family. I don't know that I got an original print, like not a print, but the original painting. So this is very special, and I appreciate everything you've done for us and everything you've done for this sport. You've been a key part of it. So thank you very much.
I know we've got a lot of questions in here in the room for Dale Earnhardt Jr. If you have a question for Dale, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless microphone to you. We'll start here with Heather and then go to Bob.
Hey, Dale, right over here. I just know that the sweep obviously is probably your favorite moment here, but is there any other moments at Bristol that stick out to you?
When I think about Bristol, not necessarily. When we came here as kids, it was we just had a blast. They didn't have the haulers in the infield, and all the owners and drivers and everybody would park their cars in the infield, and we had vans, comfort coach vans or custom vans. Most of the drivers had a custom van at that time. And all the kids, like all the drivers' kids, crew chiefs' kids, we all ran together. And as soon as you get to the track, you'd seek each other out, and we didn't have phones and stuff to talk during the week. So you get to the racetrack, you would run around seeing who was here and who wasn't. And we all just got together, and then we decided what we're going to do. We'd get on, a couple of drivers would park their vans in the corners, and we could sit up on top of those with the best seat in the house, in my opinion, and watch practice. And we watched everything, practice and racing and all that. But I remember that. It was just so fun to come here. This place was crazy. There weren't a lot of high-banked short tracks. This was really unique, exciting, with the way the cars were, going through the corner and the view we had from the top of those buses. We felt like we were 20 feet from the cars. You could really see the cars working and what the guys were fighting. And then, obviously when there was, any kind of activity or aggressive driving and stuff, it was right there in front of you. It was really incredible. So I think about that a lot and sort of miss that part, miss being a kid, and running around here with all my friends. Dad won a handful of races here, had those trophies in the house. I remember when he built his little cabin, he had them all up on this ledge, about a 10-foot ledge, and they were all up there to the right of the fireplace. And it's another track. There's a couple tracks in the schedule that have unique trophies, and they haven't changed, which I'm glad. And this is one of them. When for a while, that trophy was taller than I was, and I'd been lucky enough to go to Victory Lane with Dad a couple times, and so that was the trophy that I wanted. I felt really, really lucky to have gotten one, and I don't have many trophies in the house, but that's one of them that I keep in the living room because it was when you win here, the driver's a big part of it. So a lot of tracks, the bigger tracks, you need a lot of race car to do well, and here you need a really good driver, and I felt lucky and fortunate to have got a victory here.
We'll go next to Bob, then to Mike, then to Nate, then to Claire.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. You've talked this year about how much of an accomplishment it was to return and how hard you worked to return. Do you feel that just the intensity of being able to get yourself back in the car has impacted your intensity or focus, or has it worn you out at all going through this season?
No, not really. There was a point during the the recovery during my rehabilitation, there was a big chunk of time where I wasn't coming back. I'd made up my mind that I wasn't going to come back, and I didn't think that I would be. My doctor always says, like, you can get well enough to be able to just be back to yourself, but to be an athlete in any sport, you possess instincts and reaction time, and you possess these attributes that are above the average individual, and so you hone those, and over the years those are improved and sharpened. And when I got hurt, I lost all that. I lost all my advantage, to being a race car driver. But that wasn't a big deal, because I was so bad off. I just wanted to make sure I got normal, got back to being able just to not be miserable all the time and feeling miserable. But there was a big chunk of time where we weren't going to come back, and didn't think we should come back. Didn't possess the attributes to be able to come back and drive. So my doctor told me, he said, now, once you get well enough that you feel like yourself, and you come in here, you're going to say, hey, how much more work do we got to do to get to the level that I was at, before the injury. So we started discussing that, and went to work trying to sharpen those attributes, and made the decision to try to come back. And once you make that decision, you've made it. But I don't think I thought that I could come back and do well. I don't. There's a lot of things that play a role in being competitive. I think that I'm healthy, and I'm happy and thrilled that I'm healthy. I still think I could drive a race car. But there's really no excuse, for us not performing well or meeting expectations, other than, I'm not gonna, there's no excuse for, missing a lot of races. Kyle missed a lot of races with his injuries and came back and was successful right out of the gate. So, I felt like I was ready. I felt like I could come in and compete. I still feel that way. We just got to get our stuff together as a team. And I think the team feels like the team works closely enough with me to know, that I'm plugged in, and they still see something in me that gives them confidence that if we can get the cars going and get everything working right, we can have some good runs. There's still some time to make that happen, but we got a long ways to go to catch some of those guys. Some of those guys are so fast. I don't know where that speed's at, but it's not at the racetrack. But yeah, it was being out of the car was hard. A lot of hard work to get back. But once, I was fresh and charged up and ready to go in February when we got to Daytona, and I still feel good today. I'm not, I don't feel like that I am missing anything, or if I'm not, mentally or physically aware. And does that make any sense, Bob? A lot of rambling there.
Mike Embry, USA Today. Dale, you and numerous other athletes tweeted or had other comment about the Charlottesville situation. We've seen some other statues come down, continuing discussion about all that. What's your feeling now about how all that's developing?
It's sad and frustrating to see what happened, and you feel somewhat, you feel sort of somewhat responsible to speak on it. I think that it's great that, a lot of athletes did speak on it. It encourages people like myself to speak up. And I think that it's been a very difficult period of time over the last couple of years for our country. And obviously there's some stuff that happened today in Barcelona. It just makes you wonder what in the hell is going on in this world, So it's really frustrating because we ought to be better than that. We ought to be smarter than that, than to be trying to tear each other apart. We ought to be working together. But it just seems like that's getting harder and harder to do, and there's less and less of that. But
Nate, then to Claire, and then to Kelly.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Dale, you seem genuinely touched by the scholarship presentation there by Jerry. You were just asking Jerry, is this every year? Why does it strike such a chord in you for the track to do something like that?
I just like helping people. I've been blessed with, a lot of things, and I don't need anything else. And the track's going to make an effort, maybe even put some money into something. I'd rather them do something that's going to make an impact in somebody's life. And that's an awesome reward for me to see somebody benefit, somebody deserving benefit. I got, I enjoy that. And it's fun to see kind of how the tracks get creative to make an impact in their own communities. I thought it'd be a one-time deal, so it surprised me that it's going to be annual. But I think I think the track should be commended on an effort to do something that's going to be long-lasting and impact someone else's life. So I just feel some sort of I just feel like I don't I don't know exactly how to put it into the right words, but I feel like my life's been too good. It's been too good to be true, and I just have had so much given to me, and I feel like this obligation that it's to turn it around and maybe do something for someone else. So, and as I've gotten older, I've done more and more of that, and I feel the joy from that. So I love to see that happen more and more, and love to be a part of that more and more. So as we get more and more creative with our initiatives on our foundation, and continue to understand our ability to reach people and impact our communities and also impact the nation. You do that out of enjoyment and pleasure, and so I get a great return on that. It's a lot of fun to see somebody. Maybe I'll meet some of these people down the road. Like I did. I got this opportunity, and I took it here, and this is what happened, and that'll be a great feeling.
Go to Claire, then to Kelly, then to Chris.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. You know how in this sport there's so much action and so much color, and it goes so fast. And I was racing into the track yesterday, and I walked through the tunnel, and I saw the appreciation logo and the photos of you through various times and the role that you played in the history. And it's not that I didn't know it, but I stopped, and I thought, man, I've been covering this guy for a very long time, and time has really flashed by. And I just had to stop and look at the photos. Well, there was one today when I came in again that was 2000 night race, you and your dad. And I thought about all the history that you have played into this track, and I wondered if any of those moments touched you. Well, like I saw the picture of the two cars of you and the Goodwrench car. Any of that stand out to you?
Yeah, I see pictures of me and my dad, and it certainly, especially when you see something new. I think I get more and more appreciation for those type of things as I get older. I think that you kind of get, you start to realize the value in a lot of things that aren't material anymore. And yeah, I wasn't that big into. It wouldn't have impacted me at all many years ago, but this is certainly a season of reflection, and as you get closer and closer to Homestead and the last race, it certainly gets a little more emotional, and you're a little more sensitive to those things, I suppose. But it's been really incredible. Like our whole goal, this whole thing, and we talked about it each week, was to try to show the fans appreciation. But I have to be honest, to hear what I've heard from people this year has been incredible. About what they thought about my career and thought about me as a person. It's been really incredible, and you have no idea kind of what to expect going into the thing. But so far it's been tremendous, and but yeah, as you get closer to the end of the season, you're a little more sensitive to a lot of things that bring back memories. I've seen a lot of pictures of me and Dad, tons and tons. When you see something that you've never seen before, I think for whatever reason that really, you have to take a second look and really try to remember when that was and think about what memories that might bring up.
Kelly?
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Dale, the last couple weeks between the back and forth with Kevin, and then your comments in Watkins Glen got everybody started up about the contracts. But you being the most popular driver, your name has always been out there, be it good or bad. You've always been a popular topic of discussion. Just curious, throughout your career, has any of that ever fazed you, be it the positive or the negatives? And even now, since joining social media, your name is always out there. Fans are always going to go looking for you to say something. But has any of that ever bothered you throughout your career?
Well, I mean, it not bothered me, I don't think. I think that sometimes you forget about, the impact of your words, and sometimes you forget about how many people pay attention to what you say. So I've made some, I probably haven't kept, there's been times when I haven't kept that up, but, there's times when I haven't thought about that and done something and went, it's a bit of a reality check, like, I was just saying what I thought, but I didn't know it was going to take off down the road like that and become this big story. That's happened, several times in my career. For me, I was never comfortable being in those conversations, and that getting in the middle of a discussion that carried on for weeks wasn't fun for me, because you had to come in here week after week and answer to it. So you do it. We would just try to get in and out of the media center without sticking your foot in your mouth. And but I think as you get older, you get more comfortable with carrying the weight of people disagreeing with that or criticizing your opinion. You get more comfortable with deflecting criticism and speaking your mind. Some arguments, you don't need to get in the middle of. You got to kind of pick your battles. But we get requested to come into the media center quite often, and especially this particular season. And so I think that's something else that people outside of this room could keep in mind, is that we're going to be in here every week, and we're going to be asked all the questions that everybody wants to ask. And we're going to, I've always answered, in my opinion, what I felt was honest and correct. And so that's, there's a lot of sides to it that I don't think a lot of people understand. You get at, people think that we seek out the media to tell them, look, this is what I think. You write a story about this, I'm pissed. That's not the way it is. We you guys come to us and we answer we answer honestly and try to be thoughtful. But there are times when it gets kind of spun into this big thing, and you're like, whoa, man, I really didn't want to get in the middle of this. Now I feel like I've got to continue to explain myself. But it's I love, I've loved having the opportunity to have an impact. I think being a part of the driver council and having some influence in the sport and collaboration with NASCAR was a great experience. I'm not in the council anymore, but it certainly taught me a lot about the sport that I didn't know, even that far and late into my career. And social media is a great way to interact with folks, control the context of your opinions, and apologize when you're wrong. It's really a nice. It's a nice. I like it. I didn't know that I would enjoy it, and didn't know that it was necessary, but it has become really useful every day. So I've, I just, I'm not always right. Don't always, and I try to admit when I'm not right in a conversation. Understand what me and Clint had a conversation about the comments I made at the Glen, and found some common ground. And so I mean, I certainly see, how that might upset him or somebody else, and have a different, listening to both sides of it, you get a little bit of maybe it doesn't change your opinion entirely, but you certainly understand where everybody's coming from. So, but yeah, I don't know. I just, I didn't want to be popular. It's nice being popular. I wanted to win more races and win championships. But if I'm a face of the sport or somebody that people listen to, I hope that I can always be thoughtful and honest and do things the right way.
Chris Knight, CatchFence.com. Dale, just wondering what the atmosphere has been like for you to be back in the Xfinity Series. You're going to run one more at Richmond, I think, in a couple weeks, and it's a place that you're going to be a couple times next year. And I was just wondering if you had picked out the races that you're going to run. I know Iowa's been a big topic on your social media, and can the fans expect you to Periscope next year?
Yeah, I don't know. I need a reason to Periscope. I guess I could Periscope after the races and just kind of give my take on it, but I don't know. I don't want to be too opinionated, I guess. There's a fine line, between being tasteful and then kind of overdoing it. But Richmond. You asked about Richmond.
Yeah, or just about feedback in the Xfinity car.
Yeah.
I know that you talked about Iowa being one of those places you wanted to race, and just wondering if that was a possibility.
Yeah, it certainly is. I've talked to a lot of people, and they seem to think that's a great racetrack, drivers that run it. And I've only got one race. I thought I had two, but talking to Tyler today, he says we only have one. So we don't have a driver or sponsor for the 9, so I'm open to running, as many races as I can next year to try to help package a deal that might get sponsorship for that 9, and we can put a driver in there. But I look forward to going to Richmond. I went over there and did the Winter Circle for those guys, or the Victory Tour, whatever they call it these days, trying to help them get them tickets sold, and we had a great time. And we did win there, so it's a great track for junior motorsports. We've been real competitive there for the last several trips to Richmond. That's kind of why I pick it, because I know we're going to have a good setup. Pick the tracks that they run really good at, and maybe give me a chance to have a good run. So there's a little thought behind it. Jerry
Jordan, KickingTires.net and PRN. Since everybody was on the social media kick, I do have one question. Earlier in your career, are you glad that there wasn't social media around at the time? What would that have been like for Dale Jr. if we'd had social media 10 years earlier?
I'd have gotten in trouble, Honestly, I think that I would have been really irresponsible, and it's probably best that didn't come around until I got a little bit of common sense. But we talk. That's the conversation. Whenever you talk about what if the whole world's changed. There's a camera phone in everybody's hand. There's the ability to put out content at a moment's notice and capture content. And it's exciting. It's very overwhelming and fast-paced, but it's probably best that none of us had that, years ago. But it would have been, I don't know, it would have been all right, I guess. It just depends on, I was pretty, I was a different person, 5 or 10 years ago. So I've matured quite a bit. It's probably best I didn't have none of that stuff.
Mike?
I talked recently with your long ago late model crew chief, Gary Harkett.
Oh.
What was his impact on your career, and was he the right kind of personality for you at that time?
He was. He was perfect. He was like a grandfather to me. Broke my heart when I had to separate from him, but we ran at Myrtle Beach in Florence, South Carolina. We kept the cars I ran in his shop near Paisley, South Carolina, in Marshville. So I worked at the dealership, so I'd get done working at the dealership and drive to Marshville and sleep at Gary's house, and then get up and go race on the weekends. And my dad offered me this deal that was too good to be true. I lost my job at the dealership, and went to work on Kelly's late models, building her cars. And Dad gave me an opportunity to bring my cars up to Mooresville, where I lived, for one final season in the late models. And I thought, I needed to be able to work on my own cars and understand how they worked. Gary said he wasn't going to drive that hour to work every day. So it was a heartbreaker and a real difficult decision to make, because he'd become like a grandfather to me. But I had to get my cars up where I was so I could be around them all the time and work on them more often, and sort of understand the mechanics of motorsports and how a car works and how it's put together. But losing him meant I had to set the thing up. So I struggled with that, learning. But it was a crash course, and trying to understand how the cars work. So I had to do a lot of that on my own. But he had instilled in me how to treat people. I'll tell you a story. So we were putting a decal on the hood, and we had these giant Mom and Pops logos, right? So when I started, there were 4 of us, and when I finished, it was just me. And I got done with this decal, had bubbles all in it. Terrible. Go outside, and Gary and 2 of the other guys that were there, or were just volunteers, they were sitting there eating a pack of nabs and drinking a soda. And I was like, what the heck? Why'd y'all leave? He goes, you run us out of there. I said, you need to learn how to treat people. Because I'd been bickering at them a whole time putting that decal down. And so Gary had taught me how to treat people with respect. And he was a perfect, mentor for me. He came along right at the right time.
Well, Dale, thanks for taking the time to join us today, and good luck this weekend.